Horse Racing Podcast. What a team Steve Jones, Charlie Poste, Ed Quigley amassed for you as we fly through 10 races, I think it is. A reminder to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. And we're going to get stuck straight into the previews. And we start with the Keeneland Phoenix Stakes. So Group 1 action over 6 furlongs of 440. Going up against each other again, Bucanero, Fuerte and Unquestionable. They're both 3.5. Porta Fortuna 4.0. Give me the Beat Boys 7.0. Bigger prices the rest. Charlie Poste, you can take it away, sir. Where are you looking and why?
I can kick it off. Yeah, I mean, I've gone with Porta Fortuna, the filly, just because I didn't think there was much between Bucanero, Fuerte and Unquestionable. The Albany form has worked out very well with the Trika and others that have finished behind her going on to success, and she gets a filly's allowance. And like I say, it just came down to the fact that I just wasn't sure there's a whole heap between these. I could see the case for giving the Beat Boys as well. I just was willing to wanted to take on the top two in the market, and I thought at the prices the filly just represented a bit of value. For much as I don't know when the last time a filly took this race out. Someone with greater statistical knowledge than me might be able to enlighten me on that.
Steve,
Unquestionable for me. Who I think's going to take. I think this is the typical Aidan O'Brien horse who just keeps getting better and better and better. And I beaten last time, of course, by the other horse in there, but can't. Who's I'm going to try and pronounce, but Canero Futura. Is that right? It's not right, is it? But Unquestionable was short-headed, but got to the front and was just run down. And I thought again that was a bit of inexperience there, but this horse. I think is going to get better and better and better. We'll probably stay a fair bit further than this, but it's that run last time over this course and distance in the Railway Stakes, where the pair of them were a country mile clear. I thought that he was going to get his revenge for that quite confidently. I just think these O'Brien horses. I think he's won this race 17 times, hasn't he? And he won it last year with Little Big Bear. So it's a race that he targets with his better 2-year-olds, if that's, I mean, his best 2-year-olds he's got so much depth in them. But I just think this horse is going to improve past them all.
Okay, and I would be with Unquestionable over the top two in the betting, but I'm going to chance Give Me the Beat Boys, who, as I understand it, is going to be ridden a little colder than was the case at Ascot last time when running really well in the Coventry. Got a little bit warm, did a bit too much. Was probably drawn the right side. The one caveat to that is that if the ground is genuinely soft, I probably wouldn't back him, and I don't think he'll run anyway. But that would just be my one concern. Otherwise, I thought Give Me the Beat Boys was value against the rest. 3 different horses there. Ed's sitting that one out, but he's getting stuck in the 225 Haydock, which is next up. It's a London Mile Series qualifier, and it's over a mile. Shock horror. Isle of Jura is 5.5, Poet Master 6.0, Cathab 7.5, 10.0, bigger the rest. Ed Quigley, over to you, sir.
Yeah, just on Charlie's point, there have been 3 fillies this century win that race in Ireland. 2011, the last one. Just look that up, La Collina. So they've got a half decent strike rate, actually, for the amount they actually run. But anyway, yeah, back to the 225. I'm with Poet Master. I just like this unexposed sort. Lope de Vega individual. So if there is a bit of cut in the ground, I mean, I've seen about 8 different weather forecasts, including the Norwegian one, and it's offering totally different perspective of what we're going to get at Haydock. I mean, there's the threat of lightning, threat of rain, but other weather forecasts saying we're going to get 21 degrees. So who knows? It's officially good to soft at the time of recording, but if we do get any rain, that won't be a problem for Poet Master. I wouldn't have thought on pedigree, and I just love the way in which, it was a minor race at this venue last time out, but the way in which Poet Master went through the gears was flying by the time they hit the line. I think the salient point probably is the step up in trip. Twice raced, both over the 7, but goes up to the mile here today. And as I said, the way in which Poet Master was extending inside the closing stages suggests the step up from 7 to a mile can only bring about and unlock more improvement on handicap debut. So, yeah, Poet Master for me in the 225 at Haydock.
Charlie Poste.
Yeah, I'm with Ed on this one, and again, Isle of Jura. If you take a line through Sherwood, who finished, I think, third behind Perkmaster, well beat when Perkmaster was giving him 7. Olive Jura beat Sherwood comfortably as well at Newmarket the last day, but giving weight, but not quite as impressively. Olive Jura has now got to cope with a £14 rise, I think it is. So I think Perkmaster's unexposed. I think potentially he's rated 92. He has the capacity to go a good bit further than this. And again, he's drawn wide, but plenty of horses have won from double-digit draws in this race in the past.
I was with Isla Jura last time, and because he was so impressive at Newbury, but I don't know now a £14 rise on what could be very testing ground. I'd rather play Cathab at the prices, who's going to be getting £12 off Isla Jura. Cathab was really well backed that day. He was beaten by Mostabshire. He was disappointing subsequently at Sandown, but then at Ripon was back winning, although would have won it running backwards probably. But I think first time in a handicap off 85, he's a fair go at 7.5. But I do respect Isle of Jura. I just couldn't back him, Steve.
Yeah, this is kind of everything against what I usually do in competitive big field handicaps, looking for something at a big price. But Isle of Jura is a group winner in the near future. Absolutely bolted up at Newbury, and then did exactly the same at Newmarket. They can put this horse up 2 stone if they want, and it would still be very competitive. I just think he's class. He's got an interesting profile because he had one run for Charlie Appleby, and Godolphin pulled the plug on him very quickly, and he was picked up by George Scott, who's been in sensational form, and he's got a great pedigree, as you would expect for a horse from Godolphin. So he's got the pedigree to be a group horse, and he's definitely got the ability. And I just think he takes it apart. They've ridden him very patiently so far, and I think that is purely because they knew if they rode him prominently, he'd win by even further. So they were trying to stop him almost, if you know what I mean, stop him from winning his fight. He's just different class. And do you think it's going to be that testing? I don't think it's going to be that testing. It might be on the easy side, but it's not going to be. It's going to be soft ground. It's
just the unknown. Yeah, no, probably won't be that testing. I think, I don't think that's an excuse against Isla Jura. He makes me nervous with that big old rise, but he
always made nervous by a big rise.
Yeah, a big rise is freaks me out.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's Steve Jones. There he is. 3 o'clock.
I love the fact as well that he's implying this horse hasn't been trying yet, even though he has been trying. And when they ride him correctly, he's going to be a 2 stone rise. Anyone would get the impression you really fancy this horse, Steve.
I just think when I saw him at Newbury, I thought, oh my God. And then I was working at Newmarket, and George Scott came back after it had won with the smuggest look on his face, as if to say, yeah, we know this is a good horse.
3 o'clock at Haydock. Nothing for me. Al-Arsi is 2.9. King of Conquest 4.0. Midnight Mile is 7.0, as is Savvy Victory. Bigger prices the rest. I tell you, this Al-Arsi, Phantom Flight, they've taken each other on. I've been getting them wrong for fun. I laid Al-Arsi last time. I'm sitting this out. But Ed Quigley isn't.
No, I think Al-Arsi's the solid one here. Clearly been plagued by training troubles. Well, William Haggis said that himself. It's been hard to horse to keep sound, but when he is sound, he's pretty useful, isn't he? And he left that reappearance run after a year and a bit off the track when he was last at Newmarket. He left that behind, and it was the old zest was there at Newbury last time out, wasn't it? As you say, Tom, seeing off Phantom Flight, but travelled strongly, went around nicely, and it's got to see off that rival again. Second favourite in here, King of Conquest. I thought ran a pretty abject race at Royal Ascot. Was beaten 4.5 lengths, never really threatened, and personally didn't think there was much strength and depth here. I thought Al-Arsi, officially the best horse in the race, probably brings the best recent form into the race as well. Maybe Savvy Victory is the one who is a bit of an enigma, who couldn't beat a horse home in 2 starts during June, and then really roared back to success last time out in a race which is working out well form-wise at Sandown. So probably the joker in the pack there. But yeah, for me, El Azi, I just think is the best horse in the race, and if reproducing his best form, we'll take all the beating once again.
Yeah, I was all out to put up Al-Azi. He does have a very good record at Newbury's. My only I don't know. I've gone in circles with him. Steve, help.
Look, I hope it does dry out and it's not on this really testing side, because I'm going to chance the American horse, Classic Causeway, who in America on fast ground had really good form with European horses like Nation's Pride and Stone Age. And since coming over here, first time up at Ascot in the Prince of Wales Stakes, I mean, that's a really hard race to come over and run once. And it was 100 to 1 shot. And then last time, a more realistic level, but still a better race than this in the Summer Mile behind Master of the Seas. When just an insane pace up front. Just they took each other on up front, him and New Kingdom, the Godolphin pacemaker. And I just think that this horse has got more ability than they're giving him credit for. And if Jason Hart can just get his own way out in front and set his own pace, there's no way this horse should be, 34.0 or 41.0 or something. So it's a shame there's only 7 runners. Those 8 runners, I think he'd be a pretty good place bet as well. So I'm going to go winning place and hope that he runs a lot better than he has, just at small stakes chance bet.
And
I thought there were question marks over plenty of these. Al-Azi, he's an in and out character. King of Conquest first time. Cheap pieces isn't a positive for me. Savvy Victory probably wants plenty of rain. So I came down with Midnight Mile. She won the Oh So Sharp as a 2-year-old, ran well at the Breeders' Cup, ran fine in the Musadora on her return, disappointed in the Ribblesdale, but she was very good at York last time in a listed race, won impressively. She gets £11 because of sex and age allowance off the top ones at the betting. Richard Fahey's horses are continued in good form. So yeah, at a bigger price, 7.0, Midnight Mile for me.
all right, that's us done and dusted with that contest. We move on to the 340 at Newmarket, the Molson Coors Sweet Solera Stakes, where Fallen Angel and Soprano, she's gone off the boil a bit, have it between them at 4.33, 5.5 Carolina Reaper, Wild Goddess is 6.0, bigger prices, the final quartet. I'd rather back Fallen Angel than Soprano. I think that filly wants further, particularly at this track. So I'm with Carolina Reaper against them, who I thought was pretty good last time. And the Ascot form is pretty solid. She ran a much better race on debut than she finished anyway, when really blowing it at the start, which is unlike horses from this yard. And yeah, I was impressed with what she did last time. Thought she was the most solid of the pace angles anyway. For there are other bits of pace on, and we know that suits at the track. So Carolina Reaper, Steve, for me, the hottest chili in the world for this Daughter of Too Darn Hot.
Oh, is that right? Well, Adam Richman on Man v Food always says it's the ghost chili. So there we go.
It's not. It's not. Officially,
not.
It's not. I think
It's
Ghost is third or fourth down the list.
Well, that's Adam Richman for you. What a fraud. Anyway, one person who's not a fraud is Charlie Johnson or his dad, who've got a superb record in this race. They won it last year. They've also, or his dad won it a good few times. I think 3 times in the last 9 years, Mark Johnson won it. And then last year, Charlie and Mark won it with Lakota Sioux. So they kind of got a good record in this race and sent their better 2-year-olds towards it. And Carolina Reaper's a horse, another one that's a 2-year-old who's just getting better and better. And it was interesting that instead of running in a novice race, they went to the Chesham second time, despite finishing 4th on debut, and ran really well. Was only beaten a couple of lengths, and then bolted up next time. And that was over course and distance. So that's not all 2-year-olds cope with Newmarket as well, with the run into the dip and the climb to the line. And that's perfect for Carolina Reaper. So I'm with her.
The Ghost is 7th on the list.
Oh, Richmond, you really are a fraud.
Yeah. Carolina Reaper, the Moruga Scorpion, then the Trinidad Scorpion.
Oh, those scorpions are bad.
The Naga Viper. Yeah, anyway, there we are. Charlie.
Yeah, I'm keeping the faith with Soprano. I get the impression George Bowie really likes this filly, and it's been a bit of a mess since she was third behind Porta Fortuna. She had to miss her intended target because of a medical administration error. Was then supposed to go to Ascot, but got rerouted to Sandown for a weaker option, and she just was way too keen on slow ground. I actually thought she did very well to stick in there for as long as she did. Back on better ground, depending on the forecast that you're looking at, good ground at the moment at Newmarket. Well, I'd imagine she'll get a more patient ride, get her switched off. I still think there's plenty to come from there. And yeah, I don't think 3.25 or 3.50 is a bad price in a race like this, because I think she brings by far the best sort of form from Ascot, especially, to the table. And if she can bounce back to that level, I think she'd be too good for these.
All right. 2 shouts for Carolina Reaper. Charlie's with Soprano. Ed.
Yeah, just a tentative pick. I was with the Godolphin filly in here, Wild Goddess, who Steve was talking about the kind of course form in the book. Well, yeah, she looked very happy at this venue last summer. I mean, they went for the Hood very early. Actually, wore a Hood on debut, didn't she? And then didn't run badly when beaten as the 13-8 favourite. But then next time out, as I say, stepped up to 7 at this track and fairly scooted clear. I mean, of all the tracks and the weathers, for what it's worth, I mean, it's dry to good at Newmarket now, and it's saying 23 degrees for the next 2 days and clear blue skies. Looking at the weather, so it's only going to be getting quicker there, I would have thought. And I think this will really suit this Godolphin filly, who looks all speed. She looks a turn of foot merchant, whereas others in here, I think, are like a bit more of a punch up with cutting the ground. So yeah, Wild Goddess for me, I thought at the prices where we were about 6.6, aren't we? I think that's fair.
All right, that's your 4 away from Ascot done. We now come to the Shergar Cup, which you love, don't you, Steve? Steve?
Do you know what? I don't mind it at all. I'm trying to find the mute button there. Sorry.
Don't mind it. What do you mean?
No, I think it's a good event. I think it's a good event for once a year. The problem is with things like this, they're once a year novelties. They're not every week or twice a week like we got the Racing League that no one really cares about.
Either way, it's a can of worms, and that's what I enjoy about you, Steve.
Oh, thanks. So, yeah, I've been compared to better things than cans of worms, but hey.
It's like hitting a 6 out of the park, just teeing it up for him. How did the cricket go, Jonesy?
Terrible. I can't see the ball anymore, Charlie, so I'm going to have to reassess.
He scored 1. Anyway, that's fine. He fielded well with the classic Jones shuffle in from the boundary. Ascot, 135. Shergar Cup, Dash. Top of the betting is Rogue Lightning, 4.5. Intrinsic Bond, 6.0. Tis Marvellous, 6.5. Existence, 7.0. Bigger prices the rest. Come on, Jonesy, sell it.
Oh, this is a horse that one of my horses from Goodwood that I thought ran a cracker. Existent, who was on the wrong side. It was in the race, won for the 3rd year in a row by Lord Ridderford. And the combination of a hood and cheek pieces for the first time seemed to have a good effect on Existent, who was drawn 3, what Raleigh's Lord Ridderford and those at an advantage were drawn towards the stand side. And so that was a really good run. And he didn't get the clearest of passages through the race either. So to finish second in a competitive handicap like that, I thought was a really good effort and a return to form for a horse that spent most of certainly the last 18 months in group races. So I think he's got a great chance, and having Tom Marquand on top is going to be a great big help, because there's always a great range of jockeys in this race. Last year, a friend of mine had a runner, and they had the Japanese jockey who couldn't speak English, and they were trying to impress on him, go flat out from the start, and it translated as go flat out to the start. And it all went wrong from there. So I think he was a little bit surprised by the instructions, but fair play to him. He followed them to the letter.
He carried them out.
The trainer and his assistant were quite amusing, going, What was he doing? As he bombed down to the start.
Yeah. Good. I am with Existent, who I think will get the pace he wants there's this shed loads of pace on. You tend to want to be patiently ridden over the straight course at Ascot. Often works out like that here. Slight concern, he'll be nearer the rail and might not get a run, but should be okay because the stalls are stand side. Has in the past worked out the race off the rail. So I don't want to get too into that, but Existent, I think, should have this set up to suit, and the headgear combination worked pretty well last time. Charlie Poste.
Yeah, not much to add. Like you say, Michaela's boy and others are drawn around him, so he should get heaps of speed to run at. So yeah, Existent, I thought was a really good bet in this, 7.0.
And Ed.
Yeah, I was going to roll the dice, or one last dice with Tis Marvellous, who, let's face it, the wheels have kind of only come off, like the hubcaps have come off and rolling down the street this season. I mean, I don't think Tis Marvellous has beaten a rival home so far this year, but coming back here just has an outrageous record at Ascot. 4 wins and a second over course and distance, very much on home turf here. And I just thought returning to this venue with, again, talking about the ground, it seems there's going to be more cut in the ground at Ascot than perhaps some of the other courses on Saturday. This horse won't mind that at all. There's plenty of form with soft in the going description. So, yeah, one last kind of roll of the dice. I was actually hoping we'd get a lot bigger with Tis Marvellous. I noticed was a bit bigger earlier on, but being nibbled at people, the forgiving types like me, looking at that 4 times course and distance record combined with cutting the ground and almost on layman's terms thinking that would be enough. So, yeah, Tis Marvellous arrives after a couple of duck eggs, but with that outstanding course form and gets one last chance from me.
All righty. That's 3 shouts for Existent and Tis Marvellous. 210 is the Stayers race. I'm sitting this out. I thought this was really tough. Ed, you are with the very man who's backing up pretty quickly. About 10 days or so ago around at Galway.
Yeah, I mean, tentative selections, but if forced, I thought the very man was in the kind of win and place markets. I didn't think would be far away. Excuse me. Holly Doyle on board for Jessica Harrington team, an individual confirmed stamina, cutting the ground, no problem at all. Has been mixing, as you say, hurdles with flat, running on the flat at Galway. He's got some pretty good hurdling form. Went to all the big festivals during the spring. And was far from disgraced, especially Punch Stamina, an absolute belter when runner up there in that 60-gram race. So all about stamina, this horse. And I thought in a race which was fairly wide open, I'm siding with a 9-year-old, as I say, with confirmed stamina in the locker. So tentative selection, but the very man for me, Tom.
9.0. The Grand Vizier is 9.0. Zoffy is 5.0, right at the top of the betting. Charlie and Steve agree. Charlie, I'll come to you first this time.
Yeah, Law of the Sea for me, win and place. I put him up at Goodwood. Again, he's a very much a confirmed stays further than this. But one, the ground had gone desperate at Goodwood. I think it was on the Friday. 2, I just thought he was right there up on the front end, and he almost travelled too strong. If he stopped the race 3 furlongs out, and you actually said it, I think, on the TV, Tom, a lot of them can look like they're going very well in this race and then fall out the back of the screen, that 2.5-mile race at Goodwood. And he very much did this. He was beat 45 lengths or something like that in the end. But 3 furlongs out, he looked like he was coming there out of every chance and just didn't see it out on really bad ground. He's good course form. He finished 4th behind a horse with no name at the Royal meeting. Disappointed in the Northumberland Plate, but got struck into. And like I say, I just thought the race at Goodwood on the ground was attritional and was a non-event. Back on a track we know he runs well, back on some nicer ground, dropping down 1/2 a mile, the trip is no problem to him at all. And yeah, Law of the Sea, win and place. And Yalmarera as well was a pretty good jockey booking.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing, doesn't he? And Steve, what do you want to add?
Yeah, spot on. I didn't realise he struck into it at Newcastle. I just thought he set too fast a pace. And so I'm running a line through those last two runs, and that gives him an excellent chance with that course form, because he also finished 5th in the Queen's Vase last year at Royal Ascot, or a couple of years ago. All
right, moving on to the 245. This is over 1.5 miles. La Yakel is 4.33, 5.0 for Pride of Priory is a reserve, 6.0 for Scampi and the Leap, 8.0. Bigger prices thereafter. I'll just kick off with 2. La Yakel, who I thought was very obvious, very lightly raced this year. and there was huge promise in it when just touched off last time. Got up £3 for it. And it's going to be similar sorts of conditions, and this is probably a slightly lesser contest. So I thought that was pretty obvious. The other one I want to chance at a big price is Soto Sizzler at 21.0. That was abominable last time. I don't know what on earth happened, but if you put a line through that and you go to the Bad Company form at Epsom, which is strong, where he raced on completely the wrong part of the track, he'd have a chance of £3 lower. So I think that horse is worth a bet, win and place. Charlie?
Yeah, I'm with you with Ladiakel. I mean, again, Soto Sizzler, I think I put him up, or I certainly was when I backed him when I was down there. I thought it was a pretty quiet run. If you watch it back, I don't think he was given an unduly hard time of it. So I can definitely see that, Tom. But yeah, Ladiakel, I thought was very obvious. It was a really good run the last day. He got carried a bit right. They pulled well clear of the third. Granted, I think he was sent off 5-4 favourite. So he obviously wasn't running as if the run was going to be needed, but you'd expect him to strip little bit fitter and to come forward for the run. He's got the wide draw, which is always a good thing over a mile and a half. And again, another excellent jockey booking.
Okay. Ed Quigley?
Yeah, I like last year's winner. I'm pretty keen on Pride of Priory to get the job done again. Frankie Dettori on board this time round. William Haggett's team on fire at the moment. And just looking at the weights, won this last year off 92. Obviously shot up on the back of that. Just tumbled back down to the same mark as when winning last year. So, yeah, yard flying, Dettori on board. Ground to be fine on the winning mark from last year. A lot to like about Pride of Priory in my view.
And Steve?
I think this is in the basket for Scampy, who I thought I wanted to take on Ladiakel. I thought that the form of his wins last year and his reappearance run, I didn't think they were great at all. So Scampy has been running in much hotter races like the John Smith's Cup at York when, despite starting slowly, ran well to reach into 6th place. That was a good performance. And before that, had run really well in the Old Newton Cup when only beaten half a length. So, yeah, it brings in big, proper handicap form. And if you go back to the first run of this season, beat Sam Cook at York. So it's very solid. And hopefully Safi Osborne will be able to get Scampy home.
Moving on to the 320 over a mile. It is the mile. Porotto, a regular over the mile here, though not necessarily the round one, is 3.5. Escobar is 7.5. Silent Film is 8.5. 9.0 Empire State of Mind. Bigger prices thereafter. Go on, Steve. I'll come straight back to you.
Yeah, I think that's important what you said. It's on the round course rather than the straight course, that some of these would much prefer the straight course. So the one that's overpriced for me is Rainbow Fire, who hasn't been at his best in the last 2 starts, but they've come in hot contests. The Bunbury Cup last time and before that in the Victoria Cup, both on pretty testing ground. And I'm hoping that it's going to dry out a bit at Ascot. It's forecast to, so it could be good ground. That'd be perfect for Rainbow Fire, who the form of that one's win in April at Haydock has worked out really well. In fact, Biggles was behind that day. And it's a horse that I think stepping back up to a mile is pretty unexposed it's a 5-year-old. It's only had 9 starts and has only had 2 of them over a mile. But I think it might just suit Rainbow Fire, and about 17.0 winning place. I think that's a real good bet.
All right, Ed, you're sitting this one out. Charlie and I agree, but I'll let Charlie lead off because I'm hoping he's a bit more confident than I am.
I'm not so sure, mate. As in, I just thought very open race and yeah, positive impact. He really productive first season last year and was kept busy, won a couple of starts and won impressively on his last start at Kempton. He went out to Dubai, and you might know more than me, Tom, about this, but he didn't really fire over there. It didn't seem to happen for him. He's been off a good while. But I think his mark of 100 is still very much workable. I think he's a real potentially quality horse. I didn't think there was heaps of obvious pace. So hopefully drawn 1, he can get out and get on the front end and get a fairly unhassled time in front. And again, Haley Turner is one of those riders that seems to do really, really well at this meeting as well. So the trainer, the Simon and Ed Crisford, again, are having a really productive time of it, going very well at the moment. So I just thought he just interested me, Positive Impact. I must admit, I thought he'd be a little bit bigger than he is. I thought when I looked earlier on, he was a double figure price, which he doesn't seem to be now, Tom.
No, he's not quite. I thought the angle was the pace. That was what it was all about, really, because I couldn't find much else. So that's what I was hoping for. But yeah, I thought this was tough. He was really disappointing out there at Meydan, first start since. But if you go back to the UK form, there's encouragement there and on easy ground. So really the main pace angle I could find, and I'm hoping he'll stay there. So I want to be against Perotto because of the change of track. Ed, I'm going to come to you first on the classic, the 355, which Steve and Charlie are sitting out. Prices are as follows. Drumroll, please. 4.5 Rajasthan, Golden Move 6.0, 8.0 Regal Empire, 8.0 Rogue C. Like a Tiger is 8.5, 10.0, and bigger the rest. Over to you, Ed.
Yeah, that's a big price, I think, for Like a Tiger. We won really impressively at Newmarket back in April. Hasn't quite gone on since then, including when up to class to a listed race the time after that. But then I thought ran a pretty solid race of defeat behind Cumulonimbus at Yarmouth a couple of weeks ago. The interesting thing being that it's all about the trip here. For me, Tom, goes beyond 10 furlongs for the first time. And if you look at the way in which Like a Tiger was finishing at Yarmouth there, was only, I mean, if you stop the race at the 2 furlong pole, you thought it was going to drop out the back of the television, but it was beating a length and a quarter at the line. I'm convinced, this horse can improve and flourish from middle distances. So up to 1.5 miles, off a mark of 92. Yeah, I quite like the claims here. Like a Tiger, Safi Osborne for James Ferguson. A couple of points too big in my view.
Okay, I'm with Intinso for Luke Morris, John and Thady Gosden. It's a bit of a guess up, really, but one on debut, was then sent to the Fielden, went off at 5-1, and it was disappointing having not really settled into the race. There was promise off the back of a break last time, first going a handicap off 87, and on the dam side, there's an absolute shed load of stamina. So, and he's drawn wide, which you tend to want over this course and distance. It tends to be a plus, although this isn't the biggest field. So in Tinso, drawn 10, up in trip should definitely suit on pedigree, and there's a handicap debutant off 87. Is definitely a win and place price anyway. And the 430 is the sprint. 3 of us with selections in here, and prices are as follows. Quinault is 2.9. Washington Heights is 6.5. They do battle again. Batal Dubai 9.0, 11.0, and bigger the rest. Who is with Quinault? Nobody. Good. Steve, over to you.
Yeah, Washington Heights has got some of the strongest handicap form for 3-year-olds going, because he's finished runner-up and 4th behind Quinault. But at some point, he's going to get his revenge. He was only beaten ahead at York by Quinault when he showed real good pace that day. And I think maybe last time the race didn't really pan out for him. He sat prominent, but just seemed to get tapped a little bit for a bit of speed. And I think Ascot might just suit this horse pretty much. Previous to finishing runner-up behind Quinault twice, he was runner-up behind Shaquille. So he's got absolutely rock-solid form, even though he's becoming a little bit frustrating. It's circumstance in the horses he's been running against. And the change in the weights now, I think Washington Heights, with Holly Doyle in the saddle, which is a massive, massive plus, even though Luke Morris is on Quinault. I think Washington Heights, this is the day that he finally gets his revenge.
Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, Quinault as well, because he's been such a revelation, I think makes a lot of these probably possibly bigger prices than they'd be on in any sort of normal race. It's just he's on such a roll. I came down with Zaman Jamil. I put him up last weekend, and he got upset in the stores and was withdrawn at Goodwood. might not have been the end of the world, because whether he'd have enjoyed the ground or not, I'm not sure. He was very impressive on his second start after being gelded at first. I think there's still plenty of upside in this horse, and yeah, I think at 11.0, 12.0, he's a really good win and place option in this race.
Yeah, I wanted to be against Quinn. I'll come to that in a bit more detail. But Batal Dubai, in a race, again, with an absolute shed load of pace, he can go forward, but he tends to be pretty patiently ridden. The yard are going along great guns. They've been a bit on-off this season. And, is only having a fourth go and a handicap off the back of a win on the all-weather last time, but has got turf form, although the majority of it on quick ground. The one notable poor run was on heavy ground at Newbury when sent off favourite, but it's not going to be anything like that. So I thought it was a pretty safe win and place shout at 8.0 Batal Dubai. All right, we're done with our previews. Any other bets? Just you, Ed. So fair play for another bet.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my strongest ones of the weekend, actually. Yeah, Lethal Levi, 4.15 at Newmarket. Brandon Wilkie's on board. Now, I'm not going to bluff it. I can't pretend I know a great deal about Brandon Wilkie. I don't know if you know him personally, Tom, or through the media channels of interviewing Brandon Wilkie, but has really been making a name for themselves. I think he's had 3 wins in the last 8 rides, 3 placed efforts in there as well. Operating a real healthy strike rate. Seems to be one of the go-to £7 claims at the moment. And I think this could be the old cliche, a very valuable £7 taken off. Lethal Levi here has a stunning record at the track again. Form figures of 1, 1 and 2 over course and distance. I thought showed a nice return to form last time out at York. When finishing 5th at Aberama Gold. Obviously, that form's taken a huge boost by that horse winning at Glorious Goodwood. And the form of that race at York overall is working out really well. There have been another couple of winners who were down the field there have come out and won since. So recent form looks solid. Returns to a favourite venue, shall we say. Brandon Wilkie claiming the 7. Yeah, I thought Lethal Levi in the 4.15 at Newmarket will go very close.
I do not know Brandon at all, I've got to say, but Lethal Levi running in the 4.15.
His uncle was quite a good swimmer, I think.
Don't anybody know that? No, go on, Steve. Do you want to explain that? They're always the best jokes.
But everyone knows David Wilkie.
Got me now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. That's good. That's good. As our producer says, when you're explaining, you're losing.
Yeah, when you're explaining, you're with losing the plot, because you've not heard of David Wilkie.
I've just googled David Wilkie.
Only thing,
he had a big moustache and he swam fast.
Surely he should have.
How long ago?
You'd swim faster without a tash.
50 years. 40 years ago.
50 years ago.
Yeah.
This is great content, Steve, and this is what you bring.
No.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the Brandon Wilkie Matchbook Zero long shot. Matchbook Zero, the market goes live at 10 a.m. every day, and you're most likely to be getting better odds because there's 0 margin and 0 commission. I say this every time, but if you want to have a bet on something, it's worth taking advantage of. Head over to Matchbook Zero because you're very likely to get best odds on it. Mine is Soto Sizzler at 21.0 and the 245 at Ascot. It could be a terrible shout, but I wouldn't surprise me if he runs very well. Steve?
Mine's in the Phoenix Stakes, unquestionable, who Aidan O'Brien's won this race 17 times, I think, and this horse is typical O'Brien horse.
Steve, we're on Matchbook Zero long shot.
See, you've thrown me now. Sorry.
I've thrown you?
Yeah.
You started talking about Ian flipping Wilkie.
David,
I don't even know. David Willie. Right, go on.
Long shot, I am going for Law of the Sea, 210 Ascot, right off the last 2 runs, big chance.
Good. Charlie.
Zaman Jamil, 4.30 Ascot.
Ed.
Not gone with one. I wanted to go with Tis Marvellous, but I say the prices are collapsed and no longer a qualifier. So that's my cop out.
What about you can have one. It's a hiding to nothing. Like a Tiger. The very man's a long shot price, isn't he?
I'll tell you what, I'll go with James Ferguson. So, I mean, what was he? 9 point something or other for James Ferguson's horse.
That'll do.
Like a tiger, wouldn't it?
Like a tiger. Tiger. Good. And lays now. I have gone for Quinault in what I think is going to be a very different test over the straight course at Ascot. I just don't know if he can do what he does elsewhere at more front-running preference to tracks. So Quinault for me at 2.9. And Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to come back to burn me, but LRC, I'd like to see it again. I'm just not convinced it was all just about being dropped back to 10 furlongs the last day. He's in and out of form, especially if he shortened up a little bit more to sort of 2.50. I'd be willing to be against it.
All right, and then the Saturday best bets. Steve, who's your best bet?
Unquestionably, unquestionable.
Very good. Unquestionable in the Phoenix. I'm with Existent in the opener at Ascot. Charlie?
Soprano in the 340 at Newmarket. I'm looking forward to seeing her bounce right back to form.
And Ed?
Yeah, Lethal Levi 415 Newmarket.
And you can have a lucky 15 on those with Matchbook because they're in 4 different races. That's it. We got there. Great stuff all. Enjoy the Shergar Cup. And we will see you again next week. It's not York next week, is it? No. So we'll have one more podcast next week. And then the following week, we'll have 2. So look out for that. We'll have a podcast on the Tuesday and the Thursday for 4 days at York. See you then. Have a lovely weekend.